What is the Matrix? Control. Built to keep us under control and to transform us into fuel for the machine. MaxAnte offers you these transmissions as messages for those of you that sense that things are not as they appear. In a worldwide culture under systematic, mechanized, hypnotic obedience, which right now is seeking to take even more control of you and everyone else. We respond by uncovering hidden truths, hacking through the systems, implementing new ways of freedom, and tuning more into joy. If this resonates, you'll feel it inside and know that these messages are for you. If anything doesn't resonate at this time, don't try to make it fit, just let it go. And keep in mind, everything here is paradoxical, not to be taken as literal advice, nor to be taken too seriously, because after all, this is your tour on Earth. We've been exploring the listening from many perspectives, how to tune into the feedback, the 4 types of feedback, decision-making, and that's been going on the past few episodes. So if you haven't listened to those, I recommend listening to that, because now we're going to have a look at, but what if you're really stuck? What if you really can't make a decision? You're still getting used to this listening process. Maybe you've got too many toxins in your body and your mind. We've talked about needing to detox. What if you just haven't had the ability to tune in, and every day, or maybe just sometimes, you're really confused about what to do? Well, for starters, you're taking it too seriously. So just relax, just chill out, go for a walk, these sort of things, meditate, as we've been talking about. But you could also try the other exercise that we spoke about, where if there was a being or some person that you completely trusted, that you had so much faith in, and they appeared before you right now, and they said to you that, yes, whatever you want to do is going to be fine. There'll be no karmic repercussions. There'll be no disaster. Just choose whichever one that your heart speaks to. Do that. So we talked about that, and maybe that for you would be Gandhi or Mother Teresa or Buddha or Jesus or Martin Luther King or JFK or any person that you really respect. If they just sat down with you right now and whatever issue you're dealing with, wherever your confusion, and they said, yes, whatever you're going to choose here is going to be great. It's going to be fine. Just choose. Because you see, the longer you delay making choices, the more energy gets built up and the more stuck you become. So basically, stuckness is like a build-up of energy that has not been harnessed. The longer you delay, the more you wait, the more this build-up accumulates in you. And if you look at most people are really quite stuck. And that means that they've actually sort of turned off their life. They're kind of living a half-life, a bit like a zombie bot. They're just going about the motions because they've been told what to do, because they couldn't make a choice. They couldn't make a decision themselves. So we've also talked about how there isn't really even any you, and how there really isn't even any free will. We've touched upon that a little bit. We're going to explore more of that in the future. But this is paradoxical, because it certainly feels like and looks like there is free will here. But on a deeper exploration of that, you're going to see that, really, is there really free will? Because if there's no me, then maybe there's no free will. And so by allowing that concept in, and don't take my word for it, it's good for you to explore this. But if you start contemplating, like maybe this is just all happening, maybe even these movements of my arms and my legs and moving around and getting up, and these people speaking to me, what if all of this is just happening? And if it's just happening, that means that there's like no free will. And that means that I could just relax here, because things are just going to be occurring. But they'll even be occurring inside the space of looking like there's free will. So see, that's the paradox. You see, inside of the way that this matrix operates, it feels and looks like that you have choices here. But really, when you dig deeper, how much of everything you're doing has been pre-programmed, especially by the mega culture, the social matrix that you've been grown in. So because so much of your way of thinking and being, the culture that has grown you, has turned you into a certain type of organism to fulfill a certain kind of purpose. And that's why it can be so hard to break out of your paradigm, break out of your habits, because this is the environment in which you were grown. You were designed like this. And so no wonder it is if you start feeling unhappy in this situation, or feeling stuck, or unfulfilled, or that things aren't creative enough, or anything like that, it's because you've been given a limited little box to move around in. They've told you to live inside an urban area, to go and get yourself into certain situations that are hard to get out of, all of that sort of thing. So no wonder it can be that in this sort of way of living, of disempowerment, that making decisions can feel very difficult. They've essentially robbed you of your confidence in tuning in. That's what it's about. To tune in is to have confidence in what to do next. So getting back to the point of, what if you're just really stuck and none of that's working for you? Well, you can start getting very playful. Quite seriously, you can actually become very playful in this environment of being alive, and you can start toying with concepts like flippism. Flippism. What happens with flippism? Well, that's where you just toss a coin. You see, you just flip a coin. And you start doing that about everything that's going on. Well, maybe not everything, but about some things. And remember, don't take any of this very seriously, and I'm not recommending that you do this. But there are some people who run experiments in their lives where they just continuously do flippism. And that means they recognize that life was so random, and essentially that they were so prone to making the wrong decisions. They were making mistakes. They were going in directions that were not very helpful for them, that they thought, well, why don't I just flip a coin? And some of them did it about even the biggest things, like, where they were going to live, if they were going to take a job, if they were going to go out with somebody, if they were going to stay with somebody. And now I'm not recommending that you do this. I'm just saying that these are some of the experiments that some people have done. But what is very useful with this sort of exercise, not so much at all in following the toss of the coin, the flip of the coin. That's not really the point. The point is that it can shock you, the result, into revealing how you really feel about something. So let's say you're really stuck about a particular point, and you are wondering, whether you should quit your job. You don't like your job. Imagine that this is the scenario. You don't like your job. You don't want to keep going there every day. You have to drag yourself out of bed, and you make a little prayer. This is how you would run it. You would make a little prayer to the universe, please reveal to me the truth of this situation, no matter what the cost. I need to know what is the truth about what is the best direction for myself to live a harmonious, happy, joyous life. Flip the coin. Okay, you flip the coin, and the result appears. And then let's say you've said that was, heads is going to be you stay at your job, and tails, you quit. You flip it, and it gets heads. Oh, stay at my job. How do you feel? How does your heart feel when you see that result? You go, oh. You see, that's what's telling you the truth. Or conversely, let's say you flipped it and you got tails, and it said, so that's the result of quit your job. Oh, you suddenly feel a sense of elation, like freedom. Oh, really? I can do that? You see, giving the coin permission to tell you what to do, because you've been trained as an obedient dog. That's how most people have been trained in this society, to be obedient to the authorities, and they enable so many people to be authorities in their life, their parents, their employers, the government, their teachers, all these authority figures. And so people are looking for some kind of permission just to be able to live in a joyous way. So we've been really sort of hacking into this to just start to talk about how to ground yourself in giving yourself permission. You don't need it from any other human. Remember, all the other humans, well, pretty much all of them, maybe not all of them, but most of them are very confused, and they want something. They have an agenda that they're wanting you to fulfill as part of their plan. So now you've flipped the coin. And it's telling you, it's helping you tune in to what's really true for you. This is why this exercise is useful. Not to follow the result, but to jar you, to shock you into taking some kind of action. And so, then you might even go, oh, well, I just want to see the best results out of 3. That's what people will do. And then the results coming, it can become maddening, because now, if you're tuning in to that the world is your teacher, and the world is revealing what's going on, and that the world is a magical experience, then as these results of the flippism, the flipping of the coin, are coming to you, how are you feeling about it? Could it be that the world is actually speaking to you and revealing a truth? But you see, in science and the current paradigm that people live in, they say that everything is random anyway. They say that the world is just a cold, random, disorganized place where even your existence here is like an accident. Everything is accidental. Well, that is the opposite of what my experience has pointed to. My investigations through the interdimensional realms and my meeting of all these beings and so forth has revealed to me that this is not random at all. And so this is an entirely magical place, but it's paradoxical. So it's not designed to make sense. And so trying to apply rationality here, you see, that's the other thing. People want you to be rational, that you have to be logical. Well, logic can always be turned into anything you want. You see, like if you go to various political groups, very extreme political groups that have had huge impact on the world, they could prop up their propaganda through logic. You see, you can create a logical argument about anything. Logic doesn't equal truth. And neither does being rational. Rationality doesn't equal truth. Rationality and logic, they kind of go together. And so we're living in what appears to be, it's meant to be, a very logical and rational human society, where everybody's telling you these are the reasons that you need to do this because of this particular logic. Well, they've chosen that logic. So they've picked out the logical steps of what they want you to do because society has an agenda for you. And then they prop it up with all of their own scientism and their experiments that they've been running to try to get you to do stuff based upon this systematic approach to life that they've set up for you. But what if all of that was lies? What if everything they were saying was a pack of lies, but they were able to very cleverly structure it using a type of logic to prove to you that this was the way to go? Well, I'd say that's what's been going on. And so that's why some of these little hacks that we've been talking about are hacks into that process of keeping you under control. And so you could play with this flippism, just being playful. Why be rational? This is not a rational world. By going about, like, society has told you to do these things. It's told you to go to school, and then after that to go to university, and to get a degree, and then to get yourself into a good company that's going to take care of you, and then it's told you to get married, and then to have children, and then to save for retirement, and then to have your medical insurance, and then to basically just grow old and retire, and then wait for some kind of illness and then die. So it's got this whole little script, this prescription. So why does it want everybody to follow this script? Oh, and of course inside that you get, a couple of weeks holiday a year to go and do some little bit of travel and then come back, always come back, put yourself back in the system, another cog in the wheel. So that's the trip that they want you to go on. And why would they want you to do that? Because they want you to fulfill upon what society's ambitions are. And so that's meant to be the rational approach to life. That's meant to be the life-giving approach. And inside that, they want certain people to be doctors and other people to be police and other people to be in the armed forces because, the government, the gangsters, they have a monopoly over violence and they need certain people to fulfill upon this. So where is the rationality in all of this? You see, it's about oppression. It's an oppressive world to have people fulfill upon each country's ambitions of production, of being a culture of continual growth. So you tuning in to try to figure out what you want, no wonder it can be so hard because you're up against so much. So no need to be very rational in this system because this system, this human society is it may well appear to be rational according to their rules, but it's actually insane. This is an insane situation. The human realm, the human society is built upon and lives in an insane proposition. So once you've realized that everybody is insane, because they're going along with this. So if the proposition, the logic that people are living under is actually ludicrous and insane, then that means that everybody around you is actually insane. They won't think that they are because they're following their little script that's told them that they're not insane and has told them that anybody who doesn't follow the script, that they're the ones who are insane. So it's the people who are living on the street, it's the street bums, it's the hobos, they're the ones who are insane. Maybe they were the ones who just couldn't stomach the lies anymore of what society had told them. Maybe they've actually got something that's actually true. I don't know, you could go and interview them, go and find out. But it's everybody else that's looking very impressive. You see, you've also been trained to judge other humans and on their little ranking order. So if they've got a nice car and nice clothes and a nice house, and they've met certain parameters, that's afforded them certain luxuries, and because everybody's wanting those luxuries because they can see how tough everything is, then they're willing to go about following that particular systematic approach to living. Is that really a life though? And whose life are you actually living? See, once you tune into this, it's like, hang on, am I living somebody else's life? Oh, this body I'm in, this is not my body. And while it was grown here from the human society, so the body, in a way, certainly the governments in their legal structure have made the bodies, like your body, they own it. They have control. That's what they're trying to do. They have control and ownership over your body as a citizen. So they've taken ownership of you. You're counted on their census. Whereas actually, you've been grown from Gaia. You're a biological being. And human society, that's not real. There's no reality. There's just a bunch of gangsters who got together and through a monopoly on violence were able to take control of society and then create all the rules, create all their logic, and push you in a certain direction to fulfill their own aims. So now that you've figured that out and you've got under this hypnosis, you're going to have to really hack through this hypnotic trance of following along with what the social order wants. So, I mean, what other steps could you do if you're really stuck? Well, I mean, you could go and see a psychic. You could throw some more sticks or coins with the I Ching. You could get a tarot card reading. You could go and see an astrologer. Why not? You see, these are all other systems for examining life. I know when I've made when I was extremely stuck, when I was completely under the weight of the full mega social system that was trying to crush my life force, like a decade ago, I had to go and I decided to go and try a whole bunch of different modalities, astrologers, psychics, tarot card readings. And what was so amazing about some of them, and along with the I Ching and even trying Flippism, it was just fun to try all these different things to see. But you know what was so amazing was that in some of those readings, those psychic readings, and I would record them, and some of them gave like a prognosis for the next year, and some of them were 100% accurate. It was so extraordinary that, like, to go and see somebody. I remember I was in Santa Monica on the beaches in California, in LA. And there was this street bum sitting there, a little sign out, just with some cardboard, as jogging along Santa Monica Beach, and he said tarot card readings. And I thought, well, why not? A donation. And so I just sat down with him. I put my little camera on to record it. This is actually before I had an iPhone. This is back in 2008. And and so I sat there and listened to him. And everything he said was the opposite of everything that was going on in my life. He said I was going to have a very difficult year, that there was going to be all these little fires burning throughout my life, and that some woman was going to come into my life, and she was going to help reorganize everything in my business and get everything sorted out. Well, I didn't know any kind of woman like that, and everything in my business and life was going fantastic. I was on a speaking tour in the US. I was talking at all these gigs I was speaking at, getting paid really well. I was like, what are you talking about? Problems coming up? Anyway, sure enough, within a couple of months of me getting back to Australia, everything he said happened. It was like there were problems everywhere, fires. And then this woman came into my life, and these problems kept on exacerbating. Over the next year, they got bigger and more problems. And she helped solve all of them. It was remarkable. And I was listening to it. I went back and listened to it. How did this guy know all of that? So this is a very interesting concept to even play with. Because if you decide to start consulting oracles, like the I Ching, like the tarot, and astrology readings, there's going to be this future prognosis. And it's really weird and curious, because how could people consistently, in different modalities, different systems, know what is going to happen in the future? And yet, sometimes, and some of them do. Obviously, there are better ones than others. And it gets very interesting to start contemplating, well, what is time? And what is choice? And what is free will? Because it certainly looks like a lot of this stuff, a lot of these actions are all predetermined. Because that's what's been revealed to me through experience of examining this. But how does this make you feel? Do you go, oh, hang on, I refuse to accept this. I have free will, that there is a me who's going to do stuff. Well, why don't you start testing it? Why don't you start exploring some of this and getting some of these readings? But at the same time, just start being really easy with yourself and start being playful. Don't be so serious with the whole thing. If you are, and just start examining. Why don't you do a list of all the choices that you feel that you have made, because you're so into having this free will and so into making the right choices. Make a list of all of them, the major ones you've been making over these last years, and see how many of them turned out the way you thought they would. And what are the odds? What are the results? Tally up, like, okay, I made that choice. Did that have a consistently good, happy, joyous result for me? Or did it not? And just make the list and go down. And see what are the odds of following your own hunch, your own free will, in inverted commas. Is it more than 50% of the time that you're creating great results? And if not, well, you'd have to ask yourself, well, what would happen then if I made a prayer to the universe and followed Flippism? Or made a prayer and did an I Ching reading? You see, like, maybe actually there are other ways of having results. But the best way I've discovered is by following the 4 types of feedback, really tuning in. But that's going to take time probably to really tune in and feel everything that's going on, and to detox your mind and detox your body, because then you're going to have clearer transmissions. You need to create a very clear and open channel that's tuned into the light, and it's tuned into what is going to be the most harmonious, most joyous results for yourself and for others. And once you've done that, well, whole new ways of being are going to open up. But I understand that sometimes before that, you can get very stuck. And so by following some of the strategies we've talked about, that can start to just open things up a bit. Start to look at things from different angles. Don't even worry about, there's not mistakes here. This is a realm of play and experimentation. And even if you take action with one of these, and then very quickly you feel into it and realize that was the wrong thing to do, well, just reverse. Just try to go back and just tell everybody, hey, I made a mistake there. I didn't really want to move out. I didn't really want to change city or whatever, or pick that job. Why can't you just alter things? Why can't you keep on altering things? Don't listen to other people's perspectives like, that you're flaky, or that you're just, you can't be reliable because you keep changing your mind. So what? I mean, really, that's just their opinion. Other people are confused. They are projecting onto you what they are typically very afraid of doing. If you start mixing things up and making changes, they're going to probably be in shock, and they won't want you to do that. And they'll tell you that you're being erratic. Well, that's just their opinion. You keep tuning in to the 4 types of feedback, and you keep really feeling authentically into the moment of what the truth that is being revealed to you. And if you are feeling more and more harmonious, if you are feeling more and more joyous, that's the thing to listen to. Not listening to everybody else's opinions about what they think from their projections onto you, from their social dogmatism and their hypnosis that they're under. Yeah, just don't even worry about that. Get into flowing in whatever way it takes. One crucial step in the decision-making process, in whatever way you're deciding, you're feeling into doing it, whether it's the 4 types of feedback or any of these other methods, you want to also examine how harmonious it is. Are you causing harm to yourself or to anyone? Always lean into that which is not harmful. But you actually just speaking to somebody and telling them that you're going to take a different step, a different action, that's not actually harming somebody. If you actually are just removing yourself from a situation, well, that's not harming. Harming is actually literally hitting or hurting somebody physically. It's robbing something from them, stealing. It's lying to them. It's betraying them. It's any of those things. That's actually hurting somebody. So I always recommend, there is no value in doing that. That is not helpful, because we are everybody, whereas there is a deep connection between all of us. So make it sure that you focus always on creating harmony. But harmony is for yourself. That's the most you need to be in a state of harmony and joy. And sometimes that might involve, because it might involve you changing your situation. And maybe you got yourself into some sticky situations that other people are wanting you to keep on going with, but aren't working for you. And so once you've changed and got yourself out of them, maybe they'll be upset. But so long as you're not never physically hurting them, never stealing anything from them, never lying to them, and not betraying them, betraying what they lies or stealing or any of those things, if that's your focus, to not do those things, because that is just not helpful. Always do that which you are going to feel better about later on. Imagine your future self thinking back, like, would you have any regrets? Now, they do say that most people actually have regrets later on in life about the things that they didn't do. It was those things that they were afraid of doing. That's what they regret. Not often what they did do, because most people, quite seriously, don't do much. They just go along with the script. They just, follow the social order, get the degree, get married, have some kids, all that sort of stuff, and have a career and make some money. Great. Then you get to be the richest person in the cemetery or whatever. Is that really living your life? I'd say, I'd ask you to question that and investigate. But keep on experiencing that which is harmonious and joyous, and imagining that future self looking back upon you now. Were you actually proud of and happy with the choices that you made to create greater freedom and joy in your life, and then to share that with others? Because that's also what we're here to do, to share the love and the joy and the freedom with other people. And that just keeps expanding it. Keep leaning into the 4 types of feedback. And if you're stuck, just get playful and think about some of these tricks that we've talked about here.